It's never been easier to treat male pattern baldness than now. In this video, I'm gonna go through all of the options currently available on the market, whether they're great, not so much, or outright dangerous. I'll give pros and cons for each treatment so you can decide for yourself what is the best for you. I will share my personal protocol, the reasons behind it, and also what I'm planning to use in upcoming future. If you are excited to finally save your hair, this is the perfect video for you. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more educational videos just like this one. So let's establish the root cause of hair loss so you can understand which treatments are best for you. To start with, if you are a male, you most likely have androgenetic alopecia, which is also called male pattern baldness. This is the most common type of hair loss, which equates approximately 95% of men. So chances are you're experiencing this. It's scientifically been established for quite some time now that the culprit of male pattern baldness is a hormone called DHT, dihydrotestosterone, and also actual sensitivity to DHT of individual follicles around the scalp. That's why different men have different amount of hair loss. Some gonna recede a little bit in the hairline, some of them gonna go all the way bald. Now that we know what's the biggest culprit of male pattern baldness, let's start from the most effective treatments, which are targeting directly 5-alpha reductase enzyme, which converts testosterone to dihydrotestosterone. They're also called 5-AR blockers. And number one will be finasteride. Finasteride stops 5-AR enzyme, which stops the conversion from T to DHT, thus reducing male pattern baldness. The more 5-AR has been reduced, the less DHT will be converted. I must emphasize that finasteride will be strong enough for vast majority of people that this will be the only necessary treatment to treat male pattern baldness. Anything else mentioned later in this video, especially on aren't worth your time list, won't be necessary. Finasteride comes in two forms: oral pill form and topical solutions. Oral finasteride pros, it absorbs systemically, meaning it will work in all of the areas that is required at the same time. It's convenient to adhere to, simply pop a pill and move on with your day. And countless of studies performed to prove its efficacy and safety profile. It's also quite cheap, especially if you're going for the generic version. Cons of finasteride: systemic absorption that can cause potential side effects. Even though the side effect profile is quite low, less than 2% of people are experiencing this, it's still a possibility. That's why topical solution has been created. Topical finasteride pros: less potential side effects. Cons of topical finasteride: it's inconsistent application. If you do not apply topical finasteride in certain areas, it might not work as well as you would hope. So it's quite easy to miss a spot, not to put enough of it, and therefore reducing overall effectiveness of it. It can be hassle to adhere to because it's topical, so you need to apply it every night, you have to let it dry, and also it can get expensive. The next 5-AR blocker would be dutasteride. It's reducing more overall DHT in the body, as well as it's also reducing type 1 5-alpha reductase enzyme, which is not necessarily related to hair loss at all. The usual applications of dutasteride are as follows: oral, topical, and mesotherapy. Oral dutasteride comes in a gel capsules, and pros of them: it works systemically, meaning it will work everywhere just like finasteride pills. It's quite convenient to adhere to, and it has better overall efficacy than finasteride because it blocks up to 90% of all overall DHT in the body. It also is not that expensive, you can get quite cheap, especially if you're going for a generic version. Cons of dutasteride: its systemic absorption can cause potential side effects, and because it's blocking more DHT as well as it's blocking type 1 5-alpha reductase, it can cause more issues. Although anecdotally, some people claim that they've been on oral finasteride, they had side effects, they switched to oral dutasteride, and they do not have any more side effects. Take from that information what you will, it's just anecdotal. Or is it? Topical dutasteride pros: less potential side effects. Cons: inconsistent application, just like the topical finasteride. A hassle to adhere to. It can get quite expensive because not a lot of places are actually compounding this. Its molecular weight is actually higher than required to penetrate the skin, thus requiring special formulations that don't have data to back up their claims. And third way is a mesotherapy. Put it simply, mesotherapy is directly injecting dutasteride into your scalp. Pros of dutasteride mesotherapy would be infrequent applications, thus reducing potential side effects. Again, allegedly. It's difficult to assess because there's not really much data available. But since dutasteride have very long half-life, mesotherapy can be done every second or third month to keep up with the efficacy. Cons of dutasteride mesotherapy would be hassle to adhere to, because you need to constantly find a clinic, find a place, book an appointment, get it done every 2 to 3 months. It's not quite easy to adhere to long term compared to just popping a pill, moving on with your day. Therefore, it's not quite a reliable option compared to other treatments. Lack of studies to prove proposed benefits, and of course, cost benefit might not be there. It can get quite costly because it's always done in the clinic by a doctor. The next 5-AR blocker would be ketoconazole. It usually comes in a shampoo form in 1 or 2% concentrations. 1% shampoo, pros. It is over the counter in most countries and is quite useful for dandruff. Cons, it's not quite effective for male pattern baldness at this concentration. 2% shampoo. Pros, it acts as a DHT blocker and its results are comparable to 2% minoxidil according to some few small studies. And also it can be effectively stacked with other treatments. Cons, it's not really effective as a standalone treatment. Let's put it simply. If you have male pattern baldness and you decided to try just the ketoconazole shampoo, you're probably gonna fail. It's not gonna be enough to do anything really. Another con is in some countries 2% concentration is available only via prescription. The next category for hair loss treatments would be hair growth stimulants, and one of the most famous one would be minoxidil. Currently, minoxidil comes in topical and oral formulations. Pros of the topical minoxidil is it is easy to acquire, it's widely available over the counter all around the world. Its efficacy and side effect profile has been proven by countless studies. Cons of topical minoxidil would be hassle to adhere to, its localized effect, basically similar with any other topicals. If you miss the spot, you're not really gonna have any results. It might not work for everyone due to lack of sulfotransferase enzyme in the hair follicles. Sulfotransferase enzyme is what's needed to convert minoxidil to minoxidil sulfate, its active form that actually works to promote hair growth. And some people don't have enough of this sulfotransferase enzyme on their scalp, specifically in their hair follicles. That's why not every single person will see benefits of topical minoxidil. And that's where oral minoxidil comes in play. Oral minoxidil is a prescription medication prescribed in a variety of doses ranging from 1 mg all the way to 10 mg. Pros of oral minoxidil, it is quite convenient to use. Just like with other tablets, pop a pill, move on with your day. It has better efficacy compared to topical, according to some studies, mostly due to activating sulfotransferase enzyme in the liver. Cons of oral minoxidil is risk versus reward might not be there due to some serious potential side effects even at low doses. I'm not going to be going into the details of potential side effects of oral minoxidil in this video, but if you want to learn more, I strongly advise to check this video that I've done going through all of the aspects of oral minoxidil and my personal experience being. The next type of hair growth stimulants would be microneedling. To simply put, it's the use of little tiny needles to penetrate the skin, which can stimulate hair growth by activating WNT pathway and stimulate hair follicle stem cell regeneration, as well as improve drug delivery. There are two most common microneedling devices, which are derma rollers or derma pens or microneedling pens. Pros of the derma rollers are they're quite cheap and it's easy to use. The cons of derma rollers are inconsistent efficacy due to design flaw. The way it's designed, like a needles on a roller, when you're rolling, it's actually creating more damage than it's required. That's why there is another type of microneedling device, variety of microneedling pens. Some of you might know that I've been a fan of using microneedling pen for quite some time now. And I've been particular fan of Dr. Pen for many years already. The idea is simple. It has much finer needles and the needles are going only up and down. It's creating just enough trauma to cross stem cell regeneration without creating any unnecessary trauma. You're setting up the length of the needle, which is just by rotating this dial, and also adjusting the speed. So what I do normally for male pattern baldness, I'm starting from 1 mm and going all the way to 1.5 mm because that's the most efficacious needle length according to the studies, and going all the way to the maximum speed, so it goes faster, and then just going up and down on the affected area. And I managed to partner with Dr. Pen and they're giving you guys 10% discount if you follow the links in the description down below. The pros of microneedling pen would be design that provides best efficacy as described earlier, as well as easy to adjust to desired needle length. The con of such microneedling devices is that they are more expensive than derma rollers. The next hair growth stimulant would be platelet-rich plasma, or also called PRP. PRP has multiple potential ways to stimulate certain proteins and pathways to promote anagen phase, which is hair follicles growth phase. Put it simply, the longer the anagen phase, the longer and thicker hair will grow. The pros of PRP would be it has no side effects, because it's quite literally drawn from your own blood. It's also been widely used for a variety of medical treatments, so it's not something new. The cons for PRP, however, is that there is not quite good data when it comes to hair loss. The data is quite vague. There is no standardized procedures how to prepare and administer PRP. There is no data available to draw conclusions of its efficacy. There is nothing that's been compared to, for example, finasteride and minoxidil. Cost benefit is very poor. Cost can be between $500 and $2,000 per treatment. And for PRP to be effective, you need to have at least 3 treatments, and then you have to keep following with the treatments every so often, every few months, to keep the benefits. Not to mention, it's very difficult to adhere to long term. Again, booking the appointment with a clinic, whatever it is, it might be close, maybe far away. We talked about 5 alpha reductase blockers. We also talked about hair growth stimulants. Now, let's talk about antiandrogen. Antiandrogens are working a slightly different way, as opposed to blocking 5-alpha reductase enzyme to convert testosterone to dihydrotestosterone, where afterwards DHT would bind to androgen receptor, causing hair loss. Antiandrogens would bind to the androgen receptor, so dihydrotestosterone cannot bind it anymore, because it's been already taken. And there's a variety of antiandrogens that have been on the market. Most of them will be topical or oral. Flutamide, also known as KX826. It's been studied for quite some time now, and it's still undergoing phase 3 clinical trials. It's already available on the market in 0.5% concentration as well as 1% concentration. 0.5%. Pros, its most studied dose so far, and it has less potential side effects due to lower concentration. Cons of 0.5% is inconsistent efficacy. Studies have shown at this concentration it doesn't really do that much compared to even placebo, and also cost benefit might not be worthwhile for everyone. And that's why they brought to the market 1% concentration that is currently being trialed in the phase 3 trials to get FDA approval to treat male pattern baldness, and so far data shows that it's been more promising. So the pros of 1% would be it has better efficacy than 0.5%. Cons of 1%, as I already mentioned, studies are still pending. Efficacy, side effect profile, we really don't know much at this stage. It is also more expensive than 0.5%, so again, the cost benefit might not be there for everyone. The next antiandrogen would be alpha-estradiol. It also goes under the brand name Pantostin. Pros of alpha-estradiol, it can be stacked effectively with 5-AR blockers and stimulants. Cons of alpha-estradiol is, although approved in Germany, it has limited research and it can be very difficult to source. Efficacy isn't amazing, just like with other treatments, cost benefit might not be there for everyone. All of the following treatments I'm gonna mention now, in my opinion, currently are not worth your time due to a variety of reasons. However, I still mention them in case you're curious and you still want to research further for yourself. Let's start from Classum, also known as CB0301, aka Breezula, aka Cosme RNA. It is an androgen blocker, and at this stage, Cosme RNA is sold as a cosmetic product with very limited data and not quite great efficacy. They have been caught advertising Photoshop pictures to show their before and after. And although it sounds like a scam, the actual data is very interesting. I wouldn't give up on the treatment completely, as they're still currently undergoing clinical trials for FDA approval to treat male pattern baldness with a higher concentration dose. The next will be Flutamide and bicalutamide. These are both androgen blockers. Taken orally, it's been proven to be toxic for the liver, and also it can quite literally chemically castrate. It also suppresses not just DHT but also testosterone, which not men really want to do. That's why topical solutions have to be explored by the community, but again, the general consensus is it still goes systemic, causing all of the same horrible side effects. Let's put it simply, stay away. The next one would be Flutamide, also known as Toppik, also known as Eucapil. It is also an androgen blocker. The best part about Flutamide is that it's hydrophobic, meaning as soon as it enters the bloodstream, it literally degrades and it's not causing any side effects at all. Which also means it's not quite stable. Your scalp must be totally dry to apply this in a topical solution. It has very limited research, however, and it's only available in a very few countries in Europe. For one reason or another, it has not been studied well, and most likely cause of it is because it's quite expensive to produce, and the current formulation that's been sold for male pattern baldness under the brand name Eucapil, the concentration is quite small to produce any meaningful result. So because it's hydrophobic, theoretically speaking, you could apply more of it and create better efficacy. However, like I mentioned, it's probably going to be very expensive, and that's why I assume nobody actually pursued further this treatment. What a shame. Next one would be RU58841. This is also a topical anti-androgen. It has been researched in the late 90s and it has done some clinical trials on humans. However, these trials were never released to the public. So as far as we're concerned, we have only a few animal-based studies. That's about it. So as it stands, it's a grey market product. It's actually illegal for personal use, and it's never been pursued any further due to unknown reasons. The most information we have is anecdotal evidence just from people trying this experimental treatment for themselves. You really don't know what you're getting whenever you're buying in a grey market, and you also don't really know the actual efficacy and also side effect profile. So to me, I would personally stay away from it. The next one, Spironolacton. It is another androgen blocker, but usually prescribed to treat female pattern hair loss. Just like with Flutamide and bicalutamide, it's blocking not only DHT but also testosterone from binding to androgen receptors all around the body. So certainly you don't want that. Topical spironolacton has very limited data. Some studies done are in combination treatment with minoxidil, and even if it actually does anything, there is nothing to be excited about, since the efficacy is minimal. The next one would be Stoxen, and it's a growth stimulant. Unlike minoxidil, which promotes anagen phase, Stoxen is decreasing a lesser known kinogen phase, which is a phase where the hair has shed and there is nothing happening for this period. It's been discovered that people with androgenetic alopecia have prolonged kinogen phase. Hence, after the hair shed, for some time there is no new growth. Data available for Stoxen is very limited. The results of it are quite weak, however, the mechanism of action is different than minoxidil. So theoretically, you can stack it up with minoxidil together. Next one would be rosemary oil, peppermint oil, or any other oil for that matter. They are considered as a growth stimulants, that is, if they even work at all. All the studies available are highly questionable and or badly designed, and in best case scenario they might produce results comparable to minoxidil 2%. And just an FYI, just because something is natural doesn't mean it's better, and I will talk about it a bit later. Next one would be low-level laser therapy, also called LLT. It is considered a growth stimulant, that is, if it does anything at all. All the studies are very questionable and badly designed, and mostly funded by device manufacturers themselves. And while there is not really potential side effects, at least not that we know of, the cost benefit might not be really there for everyone, because the usual price of the device will be between like 500 and like $2,500 and even higher dollars. Next one would be scalp massages or any type of devices working in a similar pathway. They generally claim to be working by promoting blood flow circulation into the scalp, therefore promoting hair growth. The theory of this goes way back to the 19th century, with a variety of devices promising to solve hair loss by increasing blood flow. Look, as we discussed in the beginning of the video, the culprit of male pattern baldness is a hormone called DHT, dihydrotestosterone. This has nothing to do with blood flow at all, and it has been debunked numerous times. This theory is still being entertained to this day by some, variety of people who trying to essentially claim that you can treat hair loss naturally by massaging your scalp, and who doesn't want that, right? There is no drugs, you can just use your hands, fingers, whatever, that's it. And look, why I'm so confident? Because I've done it myself. For 8 months straight, I was scalp massaging to the very specific method, and guess what? I went from Norwood 3 to Norwood 5. Don't do the same mistakes I did. Use the treatments that actually work. The next one would be JAK inhibitors. They don't really work for androgenetic alopecia, which is male pattern baldness, sadly. However, they work really well for autoimmune disease. And what the type of hair loss, which is caused by autoimmune disease, is called alopecia areata. Alopecia areata occurs in patches. So you can have a bald patch all around, not just the head, you can have on the face, you can have all over your body, it can be anywhere really. So it's attacking random areas of your body. While male pattern baldness, it's working in a similar, very predictable pattern. If you look at the Norwood-Hamilton scale, which has been used to describe different stages of male pattern baldness, if you see thinning of hair on the top, nothing on the side, and certainly not in patches, it's very unlikely you have alopecia areata. And if you do think you might have it, just go see a dermatologist first. The next one would be exosomes. Exosomes are a growth stimulant. It has very promising data on hair regeneration. However, it is extremely limited and mostly based on animal studies. At this moment of time, there is no quality trials done on humans to prove its efficacy and safety profile. The theory sounds amazing, but at this point, I would just skip it. And let's talk about my personal protocol, what I'm currently using and I'm planning to use to combat male pattern baldness. As you might know, I was Norwood 5A before I had my first transplant. I had 3 in total. I'm only using the most necessary treatments that are worthwhile for me, which are oral finasteride, 1 milligram a day, every day, and I've been using it for the past 5 years, 6 maybe years, I don't know, it's been a long time already. Didn't have any issues at all, seems like to work great. I'm also using oral minoxidil tablets, 2.5 milligrams, and I've been on it for over 3 years now. As I mentioned earlier, check out this video where I was talking about all of my experience with oral minoxidil, and I'm also using topical ketoconazole, which goes in a shampoo form under the brand name Nizoral. Since I'm living here in UK, it's widely available over the counter in a 2% formulation. I'm using it once a week. After my latest hair transplant matures, however, which, spoiler alert, will happen sometime middle of this year, I'm planning on using 1% Flutamide, and possibly I'll combine it with the Microneedling with my clinic device. I'm also keen on introducing oral dutasterate at some point in the future if I see the need for it, and I'm probably not going to be switching out right from finasteride to dutasterate, but rather combining them together. However, at this stage, I simply don't see the need because, as it seems, finasteride and oral minoxidil, everything seem to be working rather well for me, so my hair loss doesn't seem to be progressing rapidly. So I rather keep it in my back pocket should I need it in the future. And if you are currently waiting for your hair transplant surgery, you absolutely must avoid these common mistakes people do after a hair transplant if you want to be successful, just like I had 3 times.